This 100-meter race wasn't just another stop on the calendar, it was a defining moment in the season, and everyone on the track knew it. The Field Wanda meeting of the Diamond League brought together one of the deepest women's sprint fields of the year. At the center of attention stood Julien Alfred, already established as one of the fastest women on the planet, but still chasing confirmation that her dominance wasn't a one-off, it was a pattern. This race mattered because it answered big questions. Could Julien Alfred back up her earlier Diamond League success under pressure? Could she deliver against elite competition when expectations were sky-high? And most importantly, could she run fast when it counts, not just when conditions are perfect? The field was stacked with proven internationals, athletes capable of sub-11 seconds on any given day. This wasn't a developmental meet or a tune-up. It was a championship-level sprint disguised as a regular Diamond League race. Rankings, confidence, and psychological advantage for the rest of the season were all on the line. For Alfred, this start line represented more than a chance to win prize money or another trophy. It was about control of the narrative. The Diamond League crowns consistency, and winning a second title in the 100 meters would send a clear message. She wasn't chasing the sprint throne anymore, she was actively defending it. As the athletes settled into their blocks, the tension was visible. No false moves. No room for error. Every hundredth of a second mattered, because in races like this, reputations are built in less than 11 seconds. And as the gun prepared to fire, it was clear that what was about to unfold would ripple far beyond this one race. The quality of this race was defined not only by the winning time, but by who lined up next to Julien Alfred. In the blocks was Sha'Carri Richardson, the reigning world champion, explosive, emotional, and dangerous from the very first step. Any race involving Sha'Carri instantly becomes a statement race. Her presence raised the stakes, because she doesn't just run for time, she runs to dominate, to send messages, to break rhythm and confidence. Alongside her stood Dina Asher-Smith, Europe's most decorated female sprinter. Known for her powerful drive phase and late-race strength, Dina brought experience and tactical discipline into the field, the kind of athlete who doesn't panic, doesn't rush, and punishes mistakes. Also present was Daryl Nada, one of the sharpest starters in women's sprinting. Nada's acceleration makes her dangerous in the first 30 meters, often forcing others to chase, and chasing in a 100m race is always risky. From Switzerland came Mujinga Kambunji, a proven championship performer with exceptional consistency. She's the kind of athlete who thrives in tight races, rarely fades, and is always within striking distance when medals are decided. Completing the elite lineup was Marie-José Ta Lou, one of the most experienced sprinters in the world. Her race execution and competitive instinct have carried her through countless global finals, and even when she's not the favorite, she remains a serious threat. This wasn't a race with fillers. Every lane was occupied by an athlete capable of changing the outcome with one perfect start or one mistake from a rival. That's what made this sprint so dangerous, and so revealing. Because when a field is this deep, winning doesn't just mean you were fast. It means you were better than everyone in front of you. And with this level of competition, the real story was only just beginning. Especially once the gun finally went off. At the heart of this race, and of the entire modern women's sprint scene, stands the growing rivalry around Julien Alfred. Julien Alfred doesn't just compete against the clock. Her biggest battles are against the strongest personalities and fastest women of her generation, and above all, against Sha'Carri Richardson. Their rivalry isn't loud in words, but it's explosive on the track. They represent two very different sprinting identities. Alfred is controlled, technically precise, almost surgical in how she executes a race. Richardson is raw energy, aggressive, emotional, unpredictable, capable of overwhelming a field purely through intensity and confidence. Whenever they line up together, the race instantly gains extra meaning. It becomes a clash of styles, of mental approaches, of philosophies. Alfred thrives on rhythm and efficiency, a clean start, smooth transition, and relentless acceleration through the line. Sha'Carri thrives on disruption, forcing others to react, to chase, to question themselves within the first 20 meters. What makes this rivalry especially compelling is timing. Both athletes are at the peak of their powers. Both have proven they can win at the highest level. And neither has established uncontested dominance over the other. One race swings Alfred's way. Another belongs to Richardson. No margin is ever comfortable. Behind them, the rest of the field feels the pressure. When these two are present, there's no room to simply run well. You either rise to their level, or you disappear from the conversation. That dynamic turns every final into a psychological battle before the gun even fires. For Alfred, these matchups are about validation. Every win reinforces that her speed translates across conditions, across competitions, across pressure moments. Every close loss sharpens her focus and fuels the next performance. And for her rivals, especially Richardson, Julien Alfred is no longer a surprise, she's a constant threat. A reminder that perfection is required. That hesitation is punished. That control can beat chaos. This rivalry doesn't peak in one race. It stretches across seasons. Across championships. Across narratives that are still being written. And the deeper this competition goes, the more the next meeting begins to matter even before it happens. When you compare the athletes in this race, the contrast in form, results, and momentum becomes very clear, and that's exactly what made this 100 meters so revealing. At the top stood Julien Alfred, who entered the race in peak competitive shape. Her season had been defined by consistency and sharp execution. She wasn't chasing form, she was already in it. Multiple sub-11 performances, clean starts, and strong finishes showed that her training cycle was perfectly timed. The 10.76 winning time wasn't an outlier, it was the result of weeks of controlled dominance. Alfred looked composed, confident, and technically precise, the signs of an athlete fully locked in. Right next to her in the conversation was Sha'Carri Richardson, whose season trajectory was slightly different. Sha'Carri showed flashes of brilliance, explosive starts, powerful first 40 meters, but her form was still fluctuating. Some races hinted at championship-level sharpness, others revealed small inconsistencies in transition and top-end maintenance. She was clearly competitive, clearly dangerous, but not yet operating at her absolute ceiling in this specific race. Then there was Dina Asher-Smith, whose strength lay in experience and race management. Dina's season form suggested reliability rather than peak speed. She remained competitive in elite fields, but her results indicated that she was slightly behind the very top in raw acceleration. Still, her ability to stay composed and finish strong kept her in contention longer than many expected. Daryl Nader came in with one of the sharpest starts in the field. Early phases were her strength, and she used that to stay relevant through the first half of the race. However, maintaining momentum against athletes like Alfred proved difficult, especially once top speed became the deciding factor. Mujinga Kambunji showed solid form, not spectacular, but dependable. Her season had been marked by consistency rather than breakthroughs. She didn't falter under pressure, but she also didn't have the extra gear needed to challenge for the win in this particular moment. And Marie-José Talu, the veteran of the group, relied on race intelligence and competitive instinct. While her peak years of raw speed may be behind her, her presence still mattered. She forced others to stay sharp and punished any mistakes, even if the final results reflected the generational shift happening in women's sprinting. When you put it all together, the difference was clear. Julien Alfred wasn't just fast, she was ready. Others were competitive, but still building. And that gap in readiness, not talent, is often what decides races at this level. Because as the season moves forward, form changes, confidence shifts, and rivalries evolve. And what mattered in this race may look very different at the next start line. The story of Julien Alfred doesn't begin with packed stadiums or Diamond League trophies, it begins on a small Caribbean island, where raw talent had to fight for recognition long before it ever reached the global stage. Julien Alfred was born and raised in Saint Lucia, a country with passion for sport but limited resources for elite sprint development. From a young age, her speed was impossible to ignore. At school competitions, she wasn't just winning, she was separating herself. While others were learning technique, Julien was already outrunning older athletes purely on instinct, power, and natural alone wasn't enough. Opportunities were scarce. Facilities were basic. International exposure was almost non-existent. To move forward, Alfred had to leave comfort behind. Her breakthrough came when she earned the chance to study and train in the United States, a move that completely changed her trajectory. It wasn't glamorous, it was survival. New environment, new expectations, higher competition, and no room for excuses. In college, she didn't arrive as a finished product. She arrived as potential. The early seasons were about adjustment, learning race mechanics, refining her start, understanding how to compete week after week at a higher level. Losses came. Setbacks came. But each race sharpened her edge. Slowly, the raw speed transformed into controlled power. Her first major wins didn't come easily. They were earned through repetition, finals after finals, learning how to stay calm, how to execute under pressure, how to finish strong instead of just fast. When the victories started coming, they weren't surprises anymore. They were confirmations. What separates Julien Alfred is how she earned her place. No shortcuts. No overnight hype. Every step forward came with responsibility, to represent her country, to justify belief, to prove she belonged among the best sprinters in the world. When she began winning consistently on the international stage, it wasn't a breakout, it was a payoff. By the time she reached the professional level, she wasn't chasing legitimacy. She had already built it. Her wins were backed by discipline, her confidence by preparation, her composure by experience gained the hard way. And that's why moments like this Diamond League victory matter so much, not just because of the time on the clock, but because of the journey behind it. Because Julien Alfred didn't arrive here by accident. She arrived here by earning every lane she's ever stood in. And the story doesn't stop with this win.